Bitcoin is trading around $26,100 ahead of Fed Chair Jerome Powell's speech at Jackson Hole. Joining us now to discuss the crypto markets is the Director of Strategy and Business Development for the TAI, Sacha Ghebali. Welcome to the show, Sacha.
Hello, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you here. Now, let's talk about the speech that everyone is waiting for from Fed Chair Jerome Powell at Jackson Hole. What do you expect to hear? How might this affect what's going on in the macro sphere?
Yes, I think there's a lot of uncertainty around that speech because, as we've seen, the inflation has been tamed recently. It's gone back down to 3.2%. I don't think it's still can be called a win for the Fed of taming inflation in the long term. So I think a lot of the speech is going to be around this, around what the position of the Fed is. Are they changing their approach? And frankly, because Bitcoin has been trading very much as a risk-on asset, a lot of this, I think, is going to be impacting the crypto markets.
Tell us a little bit more about how you see Bitcoin being impacted by the macro markets. Maybe give us your short-term outlook.
Yeah, so I think there's the macro outlook on the one hand, where Bitcoin trading as a risk-on asset means if the rates keep increasing or stay at the very high level where they are currently, that market participants haven't been used to for decades, it means that it's going to create a lot of competition, and so basically all risk-on assets, including technology, stocks, right, and obviously crypto, which is even riskier, are facing a lot of competition and actually tend to go down, right? So that's the big thing on the macro level. The second thing is, I think there is a lot of tension in the market around all the ETF applications. We keep seeing more and more ETF applications. There was even one more recently by ARK Invest and 21 Shares. And I think a lot of market participants are trying to position themselves to capture any market movement around information coming in from that.
Now, I see you've noted here that Bitcoin has been trading around its 200-day moving average. Talk to us about why that's significant.
So when you look historically, right, and obviously that's, the past information can't really always inform what the future prices will be. But if you look historically, Bitcoin trading below its 200-day moving average has been correlated with a market in a bear state, right? So this is where you're seeing that there is a lot of tension. There's been low volatility in the crypto markets, and I think there's a lot of expectation of at some point some kind of catalyst that would trigger a bull run, and I think that's what people are seeing in that 200-day moving average being high compared to the price points is waiting for this as a bullish sign.
What do you think that catalyst is going to be if you had to make a prediction?
Well, I think these days there is so much around the ETF applications. I think to be frank, I do think this is ripe for overreaction of the markets. But when you think about all what is going on in the ETF application, there is a lot of optimism with the acceptance of the potential acceptance of a spot Bitcoin ETF, and maybe the market is not expecting that much downside. Right, so there's this sort of asymmetry of potentially huge upside if there is an approved ETF or set of ETFs, because we know that most likely they would come in with a few ETF, not just one single ETF, and the downside may be a bit lower. So that's where I think a lot of market participants are trying to position themselves. We've done a lot of work at the TAI at really being ready to have all the possible sources where that information could come first, so that we'd be the first one to really grab that information. And I think that's really what's top of mind these days.
That's the spot Bitcoin ETF. We also have this Ether futures ETF that is possibly on the horizon. We saw the price of Ether react to that announcement as the markets were selling off late last week. What are your thoughts on the potential of an Ether futures ETF here in the US?
I think that's exciting. I think it's, there's been a lot of chatter around is Ether at risk of being designated as security, especially with the changes that have been done in the supply of ETH in the past couple of years? It's really interesting it's going to be really interesting to see where the value accrual happens for Ethereum. And because when you think about it, when you try to have a more fundamental quantification of the value of those tokens, Ether does have real cash flows, right? And so trying to see how those cash flows accrue to the value of Ether, I think is what a lot of people are looking at, and having more and more people being able to access those types of investment will definitely increase the demand.
All right, and lastly, I got to ask you about a recent JP Morgan report. JP Morgan says that they see limited downside for the crypto markets in the near term after analyzing that open interest in the Chicago mercantile exchanges Bitcoin futures that shows that the unwinding of long positions appears to be in its end phase rather than its beginning. What do you think of this? Do you agree with that statement?
I think it's a fair statement. There's been a lot of questions in the market of what happened last week, and we saw the announcement by SpaceX that they were writing off their bitcoins, but that's maybe more of an accounting artifact, and so I think that's why that article really labels it as a catalyst in the move. But we've also seen very big moves recently from PayPal, from Visa, right? A lot of, again, activity around the ETF applications coming up. And so I think that's where really the asymmetry that this article brings up is, right? There is so much potential for broader adoption mechanism and maybe not as much outlook for big market crash, right? And that's what they're looking as well in the options market, right? If a lot of people are trying to sell the market, or if they're trying to position themselves on the longer side, and that's what the market thinks happened last week, which is a lot of people trying to position themselves on the long side that got liquidated.
All right, Sacha, we are going to have to leave it there. Thanks so much for joining the show, and have a great weekend.
Thank you.
That was Director of Strategy and Business Development for the TIE, Sacha Ghebali.